the meditations of all our hearts be pleasing and acceptable in your sight, Lord, our strength and Redeemer. Amen. You may be seated. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Help me, hold me, fill me, use me. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. The power of the Lord overtook me. And the Lord took me to a certain valley that was filled with dry bones. God led me around that valley, and all around the bones were. The Lord spoke and asked, "Human one, mortal, can these bones live again?" I replied, "Lord, only you know." This passage in Ezekiel, and for those who like to follow along, if you want to pull it up in your phone, that's cool. It's Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 1 through 14. This particular moment in Ezekiel's ministry falls at a time when the nation of Israel is going through a great upheaval, a great disturbance. They have been exiled away from their homes. They've been scattered outside of their lands. It is a time where their faith is disconnected from the temple, and they're trying to figure out, what does it look like to walk with God, to live with God? It's a time that, again, homes have been taken, systems and institutions that ordered their lives were shifted and changing. It was a time where everything was becoming upended. And in this space is this valley of dry bones. The dryness, the brittleness in this vision, this prophecy of Israel. I wonder how, too, this connects with our moment in history right now. Do we not, too, feel as if we are walking daily through a valley of dry, lifeless bones? Do we not look out at our global reality, and do we not hear the cries of bones that have been left lifeless in Palestine and Israel, in Ukraine, in Haiti and Sudan? Do we not hear and experience the lifelessness of our bones as we deal with the great upheavals in our society? As the pace of life continues to run quicker and spaces for rest and solitude diminish more and more, as we are propelled to work ourselves to death for nothing, but just gain and money. At a time when there are so many dry, lifeless bones, because we can work our bones down to the nub and still not have enough to put food on the table to feed our families. My friends, do we not live too in a time of dry bones, where it feels as if hope has left us? It is to the people of Israel that Ezekiel prophesies, and it is to us today that we receive this prophecy too. The intriguing thing about this valley of dry bones is it does not remain this way. And God transforms it in such a surprising way. God, in all God's ability and power, could snap the metaphorical divine fingers and make these bones become living. But God doesn't. God has a process. And I think that process can aid us in our weary, dry bones now. First, God speaks to Ezekiel and says, prophesy to these bones. Tell them how I will put sinew and flesh and skin upon them. Prophesy that I will put breath into them, but tell these bones what I will do. And so Ezekiel prophesies, and there's a great noise, and there's a great quaking, and these bones, these lifeless, dry, brittle bones were drawn together and knit by sinews into bodies. If any of us have ever knit or sewed, you know that that takes time. You have to do it stitch by stitch. There's something to this space, that God holds time for our bodies to be drawn together, to be made whole again. God starts first by enabling our bodies to heal. And it takes time to heal. For we get inflicted over and over again, day in and day out, by so many pains that come external of us, and maybe pains and wounds we inflict upon ourselves. Whatever that wound is that we're carrying, God understands that in order for us to receive new life, we have to address that harm first. And God knows that it takes time. It takes time for the body to heal. And it's only after that time has been given, that this body, these bones have been knit together, that we see that there's a body that exists, and yet it is still lifeless. God commands Ezekiel again, prophesy to this body, prophesy to the breath, to the wind. Let the winds of the world come into this body. May it live, may it breathe. This next step in God's process of leading us from death to life leads us into naming, into the internal work that we must do. For you see, once that breath is put into the body and God shows Ezekiel, these are my people, and hear what they say. Our bones are dead. There is no life in us. Our hope is gone. Striking how they're using the bodies and the breath that God had just put in them to say those things. I think it really reveals to us how even in our darkest moments, even in our spaces of grief, of woundedness, when we feel that we've been completely abandoned, that there is no hope, yet there we are with our bodies and our breath, the very gift from God, the very evidence that God is present within us, that is moving us to healing. Our ability to speak of our pain is evidence that God is already moving in it, for we cannot speak of something that is still holding us shackled in. You see, the body needed to heal first, so that once the breath was put in us, we could deal with the inner pains, the inner grief, the inner anxieties and fears. And it's work that takes time. But then again, we're not left there. Even after these bodies have been given breath, we're still in a valley. We're still in a valley. I'm sure there's still tons of bones lying around. And it's in this space that God prophesies. God speaks again and says, I will release you from your graves. I will pull you out of the depth of death, and I will gift you new life. I will lead you to the land that I promised you, and it will be fertile, and you will have newness of life and joy in you. And believe that it will happen, for I am the Lord. I have said it, and I will do it. That is the gift that we celebrate today, my friends. That is the gift of Pentecost. That is the gift in this moment. For God sends us a Spirit to continue leading us and guiding us through our healing. Our healing didn't get finished with Jesus. He acknowledges this in this gospel. In John, he says, I have much more to teach you, much more to show you, but you're not ready yet. You're still in that process of coming into new life. But I go so that I can come back and be with you in a new way. I will send the companion, the Spirit, to lead you into this truth, to lead you in living into this life. This Spirit comes not to leave us in the valley of the bones, but to lead us through it. This is the hope, that we are not stuck in one death moment, but God pushes us through the things we never thought we could be pushed through and led through. The psalmists sing of this in Psalm 24. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. My friends, God, through the Spirit, is inviting us to walk through this valley of bones. That once we've been given this body and this breath, so that not only can we be liberated, but so that the world may be. For note, it was the nation of Israel raised together, and so we too will be raised together as one people with God. The life that is offered to us in the resurrection is alive with us now. The Spirit moves in us now and leads us out into the world to proclaim it, to show the scars, to show where our bodies are healed, where the fears and the things that terrify us do not define us, that the Spirit is making us anew over and over again. So let that be our prayer this week. May that be our being. Let us receive the gift of the Spirit. Let us let our bones be made anew. May we become that instrument of love that God needs for the world. And may we let the Spirit work through us so the world may too know this redemption.